Krishna.
Let's see here. Yeah, Demystifying the Guru. Wow. That's quite a title, huh? Why did I bring this? I don't know. It's just a habit, you know. Hare Krishna, everybody. Nice to be here. And so let's go back to basics. So does anybody know what is a guru? What is a guru? Let's take that question. When you hear the word guru in the media, what are you usually hearing?
Cult.
No. I mean the word guru.
Yeah. Teacher, yeah.
Well,
Spiritual teacher.
Indeed.
Expert in their field.
Expert. That's right. Yeah. It's like, some people have a fashion guru, they have a relationship guru, they have your beauty guru. I was at a post office once, and it was a rather complicated transaction. And the post office clerk said, "Just a minute, Mr. Hall, this is rather complicated. I've got to call my postal guru to figure out how to, finish this." I said, okay. Yeah, so that's how it's passed into the language, just like some kind of expert. So,
I ran into a window cleaner that called himself the see-through guru.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's
Those stickers that she used to.
right.
Transparent via media.
So, there is actually, there's a literal definition. It's a Sanskrit word, just like yoga, guru, karma. These are all Sanskrit words that have passed into English. Does anybody know literally what the guru means in Sanskrit?
Heavy.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's not the literal definition. It's kind of a functional definition. Prabhupada used to say that guru means heavy. Yes.
Isn't something like a moving target?
And ru is something that removes or dispels. So a guru literally is somebody who can dispel darkness. All right. So now that we know what a guru is, maybe we should ask, who needs a guru?
Anybody that wants to get out of here, out of the material world?
Well, that's pretty high up there, but I'll just read my note here. Since we're all born ignorant, yeah, that's right. Everyone who wants to know anything, actually, because we don't know anything. And the first guru that we have almost always is our mother, because we're hearing her. Even when we're in the womb, we're hearing her voice. And we're getting accustomed to her voice, and we can't understand the language, but that's what we're hearing. And there's a great master in our disciplic line named Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he says that when if the soul in the womb, whose body is being built by the mother, basically, the father provides the seed and the mother provides the body, is being built, then when the child in the womb reaches the 7th month, usually, there's different estimations of this, then the body is sufficiently developed that the child can start hearing. Yeah, so the child is again hearing the mother. And there's an interesting, here's a fun fact. What's today, the 23rd of October? In 3 weeks, we're going to have our 20th annual George Harrison Festival. Does anybody not know who George Harrison is? Okay. We honor George because he's the Beatle who became a devotee of Krishna. So when George was in the womb of his mother, Louise, in 1943, there was only one thing. It was a very problematic pregnancy. George was always kicking and, he was a very fidgety kind of child in the womb. The only thing that would pacify him was a gift that Louise's, his mother's friend, had given her. And what was that gift?
Piano.
It was a long playing record, an LP, which of course is making comebacks now. Vinyl is making comebacks. It was a long playing record of Indian ragas. Wow. And as soon as George in the womb heard that, he just became very pacified and no more kicking. So therefore, Louise was always playing that record so he wouldn't, make a fuss. So, yeah. So that was an early sign of something from a previous life that George had, was connected to something from the East. And later on, that of course blossomed into him finding Krishna. Okay, so who needs a guru? So even that's pretty exalted, but even to tie our shoe. I mean, who usually teaches us how to tie our shoes? Again, our mother, right? Somebody, our parent. We need somebody to show us how to do everything. Because we're born in, we don't know. Yeah. Okay, so we've established what a guru is. He dispels darkness. We've established that we need gurus, whatever level you want, a shoe tying guru or all the way up to, a spiritual guru. So, but how can I tell? These are all questions I wrote down. How can I tell who a real guru is? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but in this age of smoke and mirrors and fake news and there's more fake out there. There's more counterfeit than real. So how do I know who a true guru is? Well, in this book, by the way, does anybody not have this book? This is the Bhagavad Gita. Whoever.
As it is.
I have a whole bunch of Gitas to give away tonight. If you don't, everybody has a Gita? Okay, you're way ahead. So in chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, Krishna reminds us who a true guru is in the 4th chapter, 2nd verse. Anybody know that verse? Evam parampara praptam. Boy. Evam rajashayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. So in the 4th chapter, 2nd verse, Krishna says, this supreme science, notice the word science, this supreme science, he doesn't say this Hindu religion, he says this supreme science, was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. In other words, if a guru is authentic, he didn't just make things up out of thin air, but he's coming in a whole disciplic line, going way back to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. And the saintly kings understood it in that way. Yeah. So then he says to Arjuna, in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So this is what Krishna is saying to Arjuna. He says, I'm speaking it again to you, because that's the way of time. It tends to, the sands of time tend to cover everything over, especially in Tucson where it's very dusty. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, when George and the rest of the Beatles finally met Prabhupada. Does anybody not know who Prabhupada is? Never heard of Prabhupada? Okay, he's right behind us. I'm looking at him. That way too?
You get a both.
Oh, good.
Which is nice.
Oh, great. Is this,
On top
Just
of
on
a
the shelf.
bookshelf.
okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look this way, you look at it. Who did that painting, by the way?
Well, he did this one.
Oh.
No.
Oh, he did that one, yeah, that's it.
Okay, nice. And of course, he did this. Wow. All right. So, so in September 1969, while the devotees were, with George's help, they secured a really nice building in London to start Krishna consciousness in England. But it was a construction site. So in the meantime, John Lennon had just gotten this estate at a place called Tittenhurst in Ascot, England. And John said, well, you need a place to stay? Well, why don't you, you can stay at my place. Just help me fix the place up. It's kind of a fixer-upper, as they say. So then Prabhupada came, and then he was whisked off from Heathrow Airport to John Lennon's estate in Tittenhurst. And then immediately there was what we call a darshan, an audience. Darshan literally means seeing, but the way we see is we see through the ears. If you see somebody, you don't really know where they're coming from until they open their mouth. Right? So Dukkha dosha, the darshana, Krishna says in the Gita. So it was George and John and Yoko and Prabhupada. So then they're all talking, and Prabhupada's talking with him, and he was saying, now you have, and they at that time, they were like the biggest thing. I mean, people were listening to the Beatles more than they were listening to politicians or priests or, you know, you name it. They were just waiting. Everybody's hanging on the next Beatle album, right? Which was in '69, Abbey Road. So John goes, so how do you know who's real? Everybody says, I'm the one, I'm the avatar, I'm the guru. How do you know? So Prabhupada knew that they were experimenting with psychoactive substances. Actually, to be blunt, at that point they were addicted to heroin. So Prabhupada gave a perfect answer. So Prabhupada said, how do you know who's a real guru? Well, do you know this answer?
I think.
It's in chant, be happy.
Oh, okay. It's a different one then. Somewhere where he says, you find the one that's most addicted.
Yeah, that's the one, that's
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yes. So you find someone who's most addicted to Krishna, and he's the real guru. Because most gurus in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, they don't direct you to Krishna, they direct you away from Krishna to their own speculation about what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. So that was a perfect answer because they could relate to addiction. And so after that, for a while at least, the Beatles were acknowledging that, yeah, we get all our power from Hare Krishna, you know. All you need is love. Krishna, Hari Bol. Okay, so a true guru, he's most attached to Krishna. Okay, so if you find somebody who's like this, who's really Krishna conscious, as we say, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi, Prabhupada he condensed that Sanskrit phrase, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi, into a two-word phrase in English, Krishna consciousness. He took that from another great devotee, Rupa Goswami. So if you find somebody who's real, genuine, really attached to Krishna, loves Krishna, wants to tell everybody about Krishna. How do you approach such a person? How do you even? And there's a Gita verse. I saw Lalita's. She started. You got it, 434. You know?
Yeah.
Can you do it in harmony?
I can't recite it.
Oh, you know, 434. Tadvidhi. You're not up and coming, you've arrived. She said, that's right. Actually, where is Shukadeva Goswami around? How old was Shukadeva when he spoke the Bhagavatam? He was Jamuna's age. He was 16. This is ABC, and then when you graduate, you go to the XYZ, that's called Srimad Bhagavatam. And that was spoken by a 16-year-old boy named Shukadeva Goswami. Stark naked. And he was blue.
You would be if you were naked.
Cold. Well, he was Indian, you know. Only 7 days too. And by the looks of the picture, they don't think they had any. No, it wasn't the Himalayas. Anyway. All right. Tadvidhi. Anybody know that verse? 434. This is so famous. Tadvidhi Pari. Oh, I forget. Pranipati. Sevaya. What does it mean?
Try to understand the truth by approaching the spiritual master and render service unto him.
Inquire from him.
Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him.
And then Krishna goes plural. First he starts at singular. Tadvidhi pranipatina. Tad, that person. Then he goes upadekshanti, which is third person plural. The upadekshanti te jnana. The self-realized souls, plural, can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth through their ears. They've heard the truth. And you know how Prabhupada renders upadekshanti in the word-for-word sentence? They will initiate. So the essence of initiation is to hear the knowledge. It's not simply some ceremony and everybody eats pizza and goes home. Okay, we're going to have some footnote from Vanessa.
I just wanted to say, since we're still talking about it, the hearing, seeing through the ears, it's incredibly important. But this was like the first sensory organ that's really stimulated, when we became having sensory. But I was just listening about how when Prabhupada went to Koshi and saw.
Went to where?
I think it's called Koshi.
Oh, Koshi, yeah.
Yeah. Following Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and there was deity Ananta Shesh. And he's like, okay, if you want to go to the deity, go take darshan. I'm going to be giving her class here. And most people left. And then Prabhupada was one of the people that stayed. And 10 years later, when he asked for initiation, Bhakti Siddhanta remembered him because he's like, oh, you're the one with the good ears. But when he stayed, he was like, we actually, it's easy to see, but we really see with our ears. So it's good.
Mm-hmm. The history is a little jumbled. Actually, he met in 22 before Koshi, and he met in Altadunga Junction in Calcutta. But 10 years later, he snuck away from his business enterprise, and he caught up to the Vrajmandal Parikram in Koshi. And then his godbrother, Sridhar Maharaj said, so Guru Maharaj said, this is the last day he'll be with the party. So he's giving us a choice. You can either go see this Sheshashayi, Vishnu, and these are very spectacular deities. Anybody ever seen a Vishnu deity? I mean, Vishnu is a form of Krishna who does these creation pastimes. It's kind of like the way people relate to God in the Western world, the creator. So you see, I've seen in South India, I went to see a Vishnu deity. Wow, it takes up 3 altars. Because Vishnu, is there any? I guess not. They're lying down. He's lying down like in the causal ocean and he's exuding, he's breathing out universes and exuding them from the pores of his body. So you get the head in the first altar and you get the navel in the middle altar, and that's from his navel sprouts Brahma. And then you get the lotus feet in the third altar. it is spectacular. So most people at Koshi, they went for the spectacle.
Is he like bigger than this room?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. This might be the first altar. You know, boom and boom. You know, it's like huge. Depends on the temple. Right? This was in Tiruvananthapuram, Trivandrum, Kerala. So, how did I get on that?
Sure, retelling the Prabhupada.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So then Prabhupada went, and then Prabhupada told it. And of course we know this because Prabhupada told us, and he said, and Guru Maharaj, he was speaking very high philosophy. I could not always follow what he was saying, but I loved to hear him speak. So that was in 32 in November, and then in November 33 in Allahabad, Prayag, where they have the Kumbh Mela. The head Atul Brahmachari, he recommended Abhay Charan Day to Bhaktisiddhanta for initiation, and that's when Bhaktisiddhanta said, "Yes, this boy likes to hear. I will accept him as my disciple. He does not go away." Yeah, even though he didn't even understand necessarily everything he was saying. So we see through the ears. So just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Nari very nicely was telling us. So this is Krishna speaking. Krishna never says, learn the truth by just trying to, approach me directly. He didn't say that. Approach a spiritual master. Someone who knows me, right? Just inquire from him submissively. Ask with an ear to understand, not with an ear to challenge. Just like when I went to first grade in Willard School, wow, this is 1955 AD. Is that what it was? No, it wasn't even that. It was like 53. Holy smoke. Willard School. And Mrs. Hardiman. I remember all of my teachers because they were practically all ladies and they were very powerful. So Mrs. Hardiman, she was teaching us the alphabet. And she had all the letters both in script and in printing, in capital and small, all across the front of the room. And she said, this is an A, this is a B, and then she went A, in English, A's got multiple pronunciations. It's like and A, and and like cat and father, and hail, and English is maddening like that for people trying to learn English. So if I was like Dennis the Menace, I could have said, how do you know that's an A? I don't believe it. Maybe you're just making that up. In other words, if I just challenged her at every point and just it was a real problem child, she probably would have just, in those days, they hit you. Now they sue right now. Yeah, they hit you. Now the kids hit the teachers, right? Or they shoot the teachers.
They did when I was in first grade too.
Yeah. So anyway, if I was a rascal, I could have just challenged her. But she could have maybe said to me, well, Richard, why don't you just pretend it's an A? Maybe, and then by the end, and see if it works out. See if all these letters that form these things called words, and sure enough, if you just let the teacher teach you, pretty soon you're reading. You don't even know how that happened. Because you inquired submissively. You just were submissive to what the teacher was teaching. And then you did your homework. You rendered service. You did the homework. You did you copied the letters.
Clean the chalkboard.
Yeah. So that's the essence. That's how we learn about Krishna. We approach a spiritual master, and we inquire with an ear to understand. Sometimes when you hear our Prabhupada on recordings, he's saying, "Try to understand," and you know what he says? He says, "Try not to misunderstand. Don't be a rascal. Try not to misunderstand. Don't twist what I'm saying around your desires." All right. So the next question is, are all gurus the same?
No.
No. All right, Lalita, you want to tell us why?
Well, I mean, because one gurus have different moods and how they relate to Krishna may be different, or they may not even relate to Krishna. But if we're talking specifically about
Yeah, real gurus.
Yeah. then their mood is different, and how they relate to Krishna is different. So
Mhm.
they teach us, different moods, different groups.
Yes, that's a fact. That's one way they're different. They're also different. So in other words, gurus, they're the same in message. They're always telling us about Krishna, and they're conveying Krishna's teachings intact. They're not twisting them. But they play different roles in our lives. Just like, how did you know that we were meeting here tonight? Jagannath, you told. So Jagannath was your introducer guru.
Yeah.
He was showing you the way. It's called Pata Pradarshika Guru, or sometimes Vartma Pradarshika Guru. He's a guru who shows you the way. You just turn left at the birds, right? And he's here too. That's good. So that's an introducer guru. And then if we get really interested in what's going on, this Rupa Goswami, great guru that I mentioned, he outlined the steps from first contacting devotees all the way up to developing pure love for Krishna. It's like a 9-step program, like the AA, they have 12 steps. So, we're all recovering from our preoccupation with sense indulgence and denying Krishna, and just being materialistic. And so he says, Ado Shraddha. In the beginning, there's a kind of faith, there's a kind of interest that, I mean, you could have taken a bump on it or not. You could have gone somewhere else, right? Yeah, but you went, this seems a little interesting. Ado Shraddha Tatak Sadhu. And then that means the next step is, then you associate with people who are practicing Krishna consciousness. So here we are in Krishna Cove. There's a lot of nice devotees here. And then Bhajana Kriya, that's another one. That's a stage where you're so interested that you want to do this too, right? So like 55 years ago, more than that now, in July, I was at a crossroads of my life, and I was either going to join the Boston Krishna Temple. In those days it was we were just all inside temples. Or I was a big baseball fan. So I was either going to join the Boston Krishna Temple, or I was going to hitchhike to the All-Star game. That was a big one. Now, boy, what am I going to do here? And that was the year that Pete Rose dislocated his guy's shoulder on his slide into home plate. Anyway, that's another story. So I would have seen history in the making. But I chose. No, I've been there, done that. You know, my hero was Willie Mays and he got old. Oh no. I hear Krishna never gets old. Maybe I should join the Hare Krishna movement. So I did. And here I am, 55 and a half years later, still spinning baseball analogies into my talks. That's okay. It's not going away. You got to use it. Or it'll use you. Okay, introduce a guru. And then there's people who, when you get really serious and you commit to the path. So I joined in July 70 and then July 71. Where I was serving, they said, hey, you're ready for initiation. Would you like to get initiated? I said, yeah. I think I'll do that. So I did. And initiation means you really commit to the path. And you take certain vows. And, there's a whole bunch of things that happen. And that's when I met Prabhupada. When he gave me my beads. And then he gave me a new name. And then I always tell how I was so stunned just to be in his presence. Because now here's another one. We're coming up to the last one. Is there a difference? Another difference in gurus, a difference in capacity. Come on in. Wait a minute. Aren't you Krishna? You played Krishna in the play. Good job. Thank you. So, no, Prabhupada wasn't just a guru. He was a guru of gurus. He was a Prabhupada. He's a master of masters. So that's another way gurus differ. They differ in capacity and purity and realization and So anyway, Prabhupada saw that I was stunned. I couldn't do anything. So he took my beads and he rattled them in front of my nose and he said, come on, take your beads, come on.
What is your name mean, Prabhu?
So he told me. Yeah. He said, your name is Suresvara. It means controller of the demigods. Because you take two words, Sura and Ishvara, and you contract them to Suresvara. So because my name means controller, Prabhupada did not want me to misunderstand that I was the controller. So he said, you are Suresvara. Das means servant. You are a servant. And that's when I went into this catatonic, and that's when he held out the beads. Come on, take your beads, come on. And it snapped me out of it. And I took the beads and I crawled away. And I said, what's my name? Because I was too stunned to really know what was going on. But that's what it was like to look at Srila Prabhupada, because you're looking at somebody you can't even, it's like he's so with Krishna, even though he was with this, in the world but not of it. He was with Krishna even while he was in the world. And you're looking into these eyes that are unfathomable, fathomless eyes, so deep, soul, brown eyes. And he's looking right through you, through the eons of conditioning and lives of ignoring Krishna. So it's a very stunning experience. So, so introducers, initiators, and instructors. Notice the progression there. The introducer, he tells you, you ought to go check it out. And then the initiator, he's the one who actually performs the function, the role, the duty of formally welcoming you to the path. But that's just the beginning. Initiation, literally, initiate means to begin, right? So then comes the real journey, and it really all depends. That's up to us how fast or slow we are, and that's called the shiksha gurus, and we can have unlimited shiksha gurus. We can learn even from, just like we have one dog, and his name is Abu, and he's always looking in the window, and of course we don't let him in because he's dirty, but we're kind to him. And he's looking in the window, and he's so eager. I'm thinking, boy, if I could be as eager as Abu, you can learn. And his master is Raj, and he's so obedient to Raj. So if I could be as faithful and disciplined and obedient to Prabhupada as Abu is to Raj, boy, I'd be really advanced. We can learn, we can learn from any. There's a whole thing in the 11th canto, 24 gurus. I forget, who was it? The Avanti Brahmana talks about he has so many gurus in nature. We can learn from nature. Okay, now, that means the prasadam gurus. Oh, this is when we open it up for questions?
No, I was just gonna say that, when you brought up dog, the other day, I was reading where Prabhupada saw a stray dog and a pet dog and compared the stray dog's always in anxiety because he doesn't have a master, but the pet has a master.
Yeah.
And so he compared that to a guru and disciple.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're all born into ignorance, and we all need help, and the mother is the first guru, but then the second. But even animals have first births, but the second birth is when we connect with a bona fide spiritual master. And Christianity has this idea of being born again, right? Same idea. So that's when, and we need that rebirth, that spiritual rebirth, to really set us on the path, as we say, back to Godhead. Yeah, so that's a beautiful comparison. Yeah, Prabhupada's making. So until we do connect with a bona fide spiritual master, we're kind of like just strays looking for masters. And unfortunately, too often we make something else our master, something mundane, something that we just take shelter of, something that's ultimately not going to help us escape or transcend this world of birth and death. Yeah. So, but I think I would like to. Does anybody have any questions or comments so far about what we're talking about? The topic is demystifying the guru. Because you hear the word guru, and very often people conjure this idea of somebody mystical, long flowing hair and robes, and talking about the one, and whatever. But it's really, when Prabhupada, he famously did demystify the guru in a very famous talk he gave in 1972, which I was present for in our New Vrindavan farm community in West Virginia. That's the first ISKCON farm. So one of our leaders said to Prabhupada, ISKCON has been around for 6 years now. 1966 is when Prabhupada formally incorporated the first chapter in New York City. So six years, but people still don't understand who we are. They see us on the street corners of the major cities of the world, singing and dancing Hare Krishna, and wearing different clothes than they do, and this is when we were all just living in temples and kind of like in boot camp, and we sound different, we eat different food, maybe we smell different because of the incense or whatever. But they're wondering, who are these people? They're not going away, because in the 60s and the 70s there was so many gurus and swamis and yogis coming and going. coming and going. And, but the Hare Krishnas weren't leaving. We were sticking. Yes, who are they? Who's responsible for all this? So Prabhupada told this devotee, Rupanuga, he said, well, why don't you invite them to New Vrindavan? Them, meaning what we call today influencers, like media people and politicians. And yeah. So journalists, yeah. So the New York Times came. Mother Earth News, when it was a real back to the land journal in those days. And KDKA Pittsburgh, because New Vrindavan is not far from Pittsburgh, about an hour and a quarter, hour and a half. WWVA Wheeling, West Virginia. So Prabhupada, he spent his whole, actually, if you go to YouTube today and you type in New Vrindavan Vyasa Puja address, Srila Prabhupada, you can see the talk. It's there. It was filmed. So Prabhupada is directing the address to the VIPs who came. And he starts the talk by saying, because it's his birthday. It's the anniversary of his appearance in this world. So on the anniversary of a guru's appearance, we honor him. It's called Vyasa Puja. So we're all there, hundreds of us, hundreds, and there's many guests too. But Prabhupada decided to pitch his talk at the guests because he wanted them to understand what was going on, why they were worshiping him, on his day, his birthday. So Prabhupada said, so, of course, those who are my students, they know what is this Vyasa Puja ceremony. But those who are not my students, and then he starts looking at these journalists and politicians and influencers, you may misunderstand why this person is sitting on this high seat, because this whole ceremony took place at the top of a hill in a pavilion, and Prabhupada's sitting on this makeshift throne, velvet throne. So Prabhupada's saying, don't misunderstand that this person is taking all honors and contribution, just sort of basking in the glory, right? And he just demystifies the guru. He says, actually, the guru is just like a mailman. Prabhupada expertly, actually, he said post-peon. Post-peon. That was his British English for mailman. Post-peon. And he said, so if the post-peon, he delivers you a letter and your friend has sent you $100, actually, the post-peon hasn't given you the $100. Your friend has sent you the $100, and the post-peon is just delivering the mail. So he says, similarly, I'm just like Krishna's post-peon. Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita, and I'm here delivering you the message. That's all. And I'm not changing anything. Just like the real mailman, he doesn't take $1 away from that gift or add $1. He just gives you the letter as it is. So and then he went even further down. He said, actually, I'm the dog of God. He said, just like in this country, you say dog is man's best friend. So if you happen to see, and this is the 70s now, Hare Krishna, I brought,
That's it.
after 55 years of the Hare Krishna movement, I know enough to bring a tiffin for when they bring out the prasadam. So you just give me the
Noodles.
the noodles and the
Okay,
salad.
I'll take that.
Thank you. All right. So I just interrupted the whole point, but anyway. So Prabhupada in the 70s, he was saying, just like Mr. Ford and Mr. Rockefeller. Maybe we should just stop here because it's going to get a little. Okay. Mr. Ford and Mr. Rockefeller. Why did Prabhupada say Ford and Rockefeller?
They were the big money men.
They were the big men. Nelson Rockefeller, he just died. But anyway, Rockefeller was still a big name. And Ford, Henry Ford. Right. So, Prabhupada said, if you want to see Mr. Ford or Mr. Rockefeller, you can't do it. You can't see them directly. But if you happen to see Mr. Ford walking his dog in a park, and then Prabhupada said, if you happen to give Mr. Ford's dog a 2-cent lozenge, Prabhupada used the word lozenge, a little candy or something. So Mr. Ford will be so pleased that you pleased his dog by giving him a treat, right? So similarly, I am the dog of God. Krishna is very big. He's very big, he's very far away, he's very vast. But it's very easy to please me. And then as if on cue, a devotee said, how can we please you, Srila Prabhupada? Chant Hare Krishna. Then we had a big kirtan. So that's the idea. If Krishna's, he wants us to approach him by pleasing somebody who's very dear to him. Yeah. So that's what we do in the Hare Krishna movement. And on that note, I'm going to thank you for listening. Are there any questions? If not, please. What is your name again?
Nidhi.
Aditi?
Nidhi.
Nidhi.
Nidhivan.
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 Like Nidhi.
What does Nidhi mean in Sanskrit?
It's referred to as ocean sometimes.
Oh, right. Nidhi, ocean.
Then there is also treasure.
Treasure.
I don't know what money is, but those are the two words in Sanskrit.
So Nidhi, you have a question.
Yeah. My question was, I was wondering if you could talk more about how the Chaitya Guru, the Dragon the Chaitya Guru is first, Paramatma is established as the Chaitya Guru, who then, when you're sincere, takes the form of a guru externally, and then when you render service first to the guru, the guru eventually connects you to Krishna.
Yeah.
But once the guru leaves the material body, they still continue to connect. And there are these experiences that I've read, even by Yamuna Devi Dasi, how...
Wow, well, you've read a lot. This lady is not a beginner. Okay, who's your parents? Do I know your parents?
I don't think so. They're in India. Well, both have passed away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you continue to say it again?
So I was wondering if you could explain this mystical nature of how we are connected to the Guru by Paramatma. Because there are so many experiences of the spiritual master and the disciples, and how sometimes the Guru is not in the room, and yet the Guru knows exactly what is happening. Of course, it's Paramatma, but how does this happen? It's inconceivable.
Well, have you read? There's a whole chapter about this in the Bhagavatam. 4th canto. Have you read the 4th?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a character in a story that Narada Muni tells King Prachani Barhishat, and the character's name is Avigyata. And it means, I'm your unknown friend. Avigyata. So Avigyata is the character, but literally, when the symbolism is explained later in the story, Avigyata means that in the body, like we're living in the body, and then with us is, as you said, Chaitya Guru, the super soul. So, think about this, that we've been, wandering in this material world, according to the Shastras, for forever practically, since time immemorial, it says, beyond time, beyond record, up and down the different planetary systems, through all the species of life. But Krishna never abandons us. Paramatma, Chaitya Guru, is Krishna monitoring us. It's Krishna's expansion who's with us, and he's just waiting for us to turn to him. I mean, that's a friend, right? Just for example, say if you said to your friends and family, said, "Oh, I just found out through an astrologer that I'm going to be a pig in my next life, and I've always loved Porky Pig. I really want to be a pig. Would you all, I know you love me so much, you all be willing to come with me, right?" But they're all going, because love has its limits in the material world. As long as I'm pleasing your senses, you love me. And as long as you're pleasing my senses, I love you. But that kind of a proposition won't fly. But Krishna accompanies us even when we're pigs or cockroaches or demigods, he never gives up, and he's just waiting for the day, And then finally, when there's some divine intervention in that whole career of going up and down and getting born and dying, and we need divine intervention. So there's a verse like that in a shastra called Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which means that we're wandering all around the universe, but then Guru Krishna Prasad Epai Bhakti Lata Beach. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we get the seed of devotion. And it's not common. Sometimes it's compared to a turtle surfacing in the middle of the Pacific through a knothole and a piece of driftwood. That's not very, what are the chances of that, right? So then when we start to turn toward the divine, you can say general. Just like this before I came to Krishna consciousness, I was dropping in and out of University of Connecticut. I would drop out to go look for the truth because I wasn't finding it at the university. And then I'd drop back in because then the U.S. government wanted me to go fight in Vietnam, and we were all protesting Vietnam. We didn't want to go fight in Vietnam. So I did this 3 times. And then finally, the 3rd time, I challenged myself. I said, look, just leave the university, go find the truth. The truth will set you free. And I knew there was somebody up there that liked me, as the movie said. Somebody up there likes me. There was a movie like that. And whoever is in charge of all this, whoever's behind all this, will protect you. And it worked. And so as soon as I made that determination, I didn't check it out. I didn't try to, go back to, or I didn't go join the army. I didn't believe in that. Finally, and when I found the Gita and Prabhupada, I said, okay, I'm going to join Prabhupada's army. And I did. So then Krishna starts making all the arrangements. If you talk to anybody who's coming to Krishna, they'll tell you how Krishna is working through their lives to bring them to him. That's Krishna. That's Krishna as Paramatma. He's the monitor. When we go back to Godhead, there's no need for the monitor because we're with Krishna face to face. But it's kind of like, we're on probation, or what do they do when they don't? You're under house. They put something on your ankle, an ankle bracelet. House arrest or something, yeah. So we're in the material world. It's kind of like a prison, because it's birth, death, old age, and disease, and lust, anger, and greed, and all this stuff. So we're being monitored by Krishna, but he's a real benevolent monitor. He's not judging us. He's just impartially awarding us our karma, and he's just waiting for us to turn to him. So now that we're turning to him, because we're all in this room, that means we're all turning to him. then yes, he's making all these different arrangements. He'll never interfere with the free will, but he'll encourage us in ways. He'll give us opportunities to come closer to him. Yeah. But it's up to us. Because he wants us to freely love him. Otherwise, what's the use of, you can't force somebody to love you, right? It's got to be free. Yeah. So, is that okay? Or did I just talk around it and not really hit the mark? That's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Read about Abhigyata. Yeah, it starts in 425, Canto 4, Chapter 25, the activities of King Paranja. And then later, when the whole thing is unpacked in Chapter 28, when the allegory, Narada Muni unpacks the whole allegory, then you find out Abhigyata. Yeah.
And the Chaitanya Charitamrita covers the Guru Krishna.
Oh, yeah, that's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. Chapter 19, text 151. Oh, you find out how lucky we are to get the seed from Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he was a broadcaster. He was just broadcasting seeds all over the place. Sometimes the Himalayan yogis, they say, the well does not go to the thirsty must come to the well. That's a typical Himalayan yogi. You've got to come to the Himalayas and bow before me on my bed of nails, and I will enlighten you. No, so contrast that with what Prabhupada did. He started an irrigation project all over the world, flooding the world with Krishna consciousness, right? That's why we're here. I mean, even in the desert of Tucson, there's an oasis in the desert. Wow. That's a Prabhupada. That's a super master. That's a mega guru. Yeah. So, yes, Kamal.
I was just hoping you could share a little bit about your time in Toronto, because you're presenting Prabhupada as our preeminent Shiksha Guru, and any anecdotes or experiences you had in introducing people to Srila Prabhupada.
Wow. Well, yeah, I had a great time because I found in the temple in Toronto, Canada, which has a special place in my heart, because in 1970, when I left America, rather than fight Vietnam, I expatriated to Toronto. Because the Canadian government was sympathetic to us war resistors. We didn't call ourselves draft dodgers, we called ourselves war resistors. So that's where I first walked into a Krishna temple. It wasn't where they are now, which was a former nice Catholic church, very ornate. It was just a house on 40 Beverly Street in San Francisco, in Toronto. So anyway, I was back there, and I was teaching this. There were students at what they call the Bhakti Academy in the temple, and they were very attentive. They were because that was part of their introduction to Krishna consciousness. They were students or workers who had come from, most of them had come from India, because Toronto has the biggest Indian population in North America. Yeah. So they were just fascinated by the slides and the scribes. Every lesson had a script, and the questions were great. But then it was even better in a sense that was during the weekday, and then on the weekends they deploy me to these satellite centers, what they call the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, up to an hour away. And that's where there was a lot of older devotees, and they were really hungry, boy. They were really hungry to hear about Prabhupada. Because I would present a point and I would illustrate it with a story. And most of the stories that I would tell them, I wasn't present for. I just heard them from other people. Because Prabhupada was always traveling all over the world with his irrigation project. 14 times in 12 years. He was just traveling all over the world. So we'd see him about once a year, And he kept traveling because he knew that we needed to see him as well as hear him because we were too attached to that bodily seeing. So I said, look, if you want to, because they really liked the lessons, but they said, so how do we continue this? You're leaving now, so what do we do when you're gone? We're really getting enthralled here with Prabhupada consciousness. So what do we do? And I said, well, you have so much. Prabhupada's left us so much. Prabhupada was among the most recorded people in the 20th century. He's got thousands of hours of morning walks and room conversations and lectures and press conferences and airport arrivals. You name it. Prabhupada, he insisted wherever he went that he'd be recorded for us, for the future. And then we have films. So just keep seeing Prabhupada through the ears. Through his what's called his vani, his vibration. And they said, thank you, that's what we'll do. So, and I told them, look, when I was a young man serving at Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, we used to dream, wouldn't it be nice, Prabhu, someday if you could just press a button and you could hear Prabhupada anywhere, what he was doing here and there, because he was always moving. But then, and now we have that. You can just at the tap of a screen, you can hear what, or you can bring up a letter, or we're just awash with Prabhupada's vani, his vibration. But maybe we're spoiled. We don't take advantage of it.
Even that Prabhupada chat that came out recently, you felt like you were interacting with Prabhupada, like you were getting letter from him, that.
Oh, that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, I was one of the.
The vendors.
Early release, yeah. But the way they framed that, so you felt like you were having a.
They want to.
He was sending you a letter, yeah, it felt like when you would ask a question.
Yeah, but I had problems with that, and they're still trying to work out the bugs so that the answer doesn't hallucinate or speculate what Prabhupada could have said. Yeah, right. Yeah, they're trying to, and I'm saying I have my doubts because even, what's his name, the Chat GBT guy, Sam Altman. Yeah, he's saying we haven't been able to stop this hallucination phenomenon with AI. It just always tends to get ahead of itself. Okay. Well, thank you for being such an attentive audience. You had to let your Uncle Suresvara take rest early. I need to recover. Get rid of this frog in my throat.
I left you a 2-cent lozenge up there.
Oh, you did?
In honor of Srila Prabhupada.